and welcome to this August 23rd edition of Off the Map Live. I'm your host, Ben Licata. We are in our new space. This is my 3-year anniversary of doing this show. 3 years ago yesterday, we did the very first, well, I did my very first show. There was a couple episodes before that. And we went and looked back at it today, and we've come a long way. So any of you guys that have been watching from the beginning, you know already. We've had our share of bumps and bruises, but I think we're doing good. So, let's see, who was on our last show? I don't know, I've been so busy I don't even remember. Oh no, James Kern. That one will be available to watch an archived edition when I get back from Hell City, Phoenix, which I'm leaving for Thursday. I'll be doing live interviews from the stage there. I'll be interviewing Frank Linatra on Friday, and founder and creator of the Neo-Tat machine, Ray Webb. I'll also be shooting Ray's Guinness Book of World Records attempt at the world's largest rotary tattoo machine. If you are in Phoenix, check it out. Neo-Tat's been a sponsor of ours from the beginning, and they are one of the best sponsors we've ever had. The show is also brought to you by the Venetian Tattoo Gathering, which is coming up soon. Venetian Tattoo Gathering, it's taking place in Old Venice. It's a collaboration between our founder here, Gabe Ripley, and Alex DePasse, our Italian partner, and Derb Morrison, who has brought you Hell City for years. We're also brought to you by the Worldwide Tattoo Conference, which is coming up super fast. That's going to be in October in Portland, Oregon. Please come join us. You can watch it live. You can come to the event. Check it out, or if you can't make it out to Portland, you can get yourself a streaming ticket. If you want a chance to win that ticket, you can win one here tonight. If you go to TattooNowTV.com/WWTC, there's a form there, and you can enter your information. And sometime during the show, we'll be giving one of you a phone call and giving you a chance for that ticket, $950 value. Don't miss it. TattooNowTV.com/WWTC. Sign up now, and sometime before the end of the show, we're going to pick a lucky viewer to win that ticket. So our guest tonight is Nick Baxter. You probably know Nick's work. He does amazing full color, a lot of times based in nature. His tattoos are vibrant, creative. He was one of the first guys I saw around this area doing some really amazing work. He's now working in Austin, Texas, and we'll be talking to him shortly. Let's see, what else is new? Rebecca is off today, so we will not be doing the network news. Sorry about that, and Kelsey was too afraid to do it, so you guys can't have it. But we will be doing Tattoo of the Day a little bit later. Gives us a chance to talk to Nick for a long time, so get in the chat room. Ask your questions. I'll see them come up here, and I'll be able to ask Nick, and he'll be able to respond to you. So we'll be back with Nick in just a few minutes after this quick commercial break, and we'll check in with him and see what he's up to. He's one of our teachers at the Worldwide Tattoo Conference, and we'll talk a little bit about what he's going to be doing there. We'll see you in just a few minutes.
Oh my, have you ever heard anything so exciting? I don't know what's going on. Oh my, was there a bird? Did you hear how it rang off the walls in the rain? next to me out here in the streets. And oh my, it's such a dream. We're smiling and free. What a fine way to be. Oh my, it's such a gift to have you around, to share all these strange things with. Oh my, everything's magic. Come on, let's grab it, see what it's made of. But I know our love is stronger than fear, and our fear of love is not far from here. We hear the sounds of bells in our ears. I know our love is stronger than fear, stronger than fear. That was stronger than fear, oh, stronger than fear.
And we're back. We're back with Nick Baxter. Nick, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for taking some time to talk with us.
Yeah, sure.
So, Nick, what is new? What you been up to?
Man, it's been a busy summer artistically. I've been taking some painting workshops and just doing the usual tattoo work, I guess. But I've really been trying out some new techniques, some new genres of painting that I'm enjoying.
I saw that you did like a Dutch masters kind of still life painting workshop. Is that right? Is that accurate?
Yeah, I took a 17th century Dutch still life workshop in New York City at the Grand Central Atelier, which is an awesome school. If anyone wants to check out a school in the Northeast that teaches a classical approach to art learning. So that was basically just painting in the manner and in the technique of the Dutch realist painters from like around the Renaissance period. Focusing on traditional subject matter, which was in that case kitchen items like food and cooking related items.
Was it challenging?
Yeah, the most challenging aspect really is the foundational step of drawing. Just seeing accurately and drawing. I've been painting now for over a decade, so my painting technique and what I know about oil paint was already at a proficient level, obviously, at the time I took the workshop. But what I don't practice every single day is just the fundamentals of life drawing, just observing three-dimensional objects in front of you and recording them accurately.
I saw one of your sketches, and it had lines all over it, much like some of the descriptions from your seminar. Was that was similar thing?
Yeah, I'm really into composition lately, and just the visual flow of an artwork and how that affects the psychology of the viewer and either aids or detracts from their viewing experience. So yeah, I'll kind of start with some like rough measurements of how I want to arrange items spatially within the composition, and I'll try to base it on there. But when you're drawing something like a cup or a glass, something circular that has ellipses, you need to orient everything according to a horizon line so that all of your ellipses are true. So you might have been seeing a lot of perpendicular guidelines just for making sure my ellipses were very accurate. Because if those are off, then your whole painting looks amateurish. You can kind of fudge the more organic elements, but you can't really fudge a perfect circle that's meant to be symmetrical on all sides.
So how did you find that course?
It was great. I love still life painting, and I've been doing it for about 15 years now. That's what I learned in art college originally when I attended art college as a teenager, straight out of high school. So I've been primarily painting in a still life technique this whole time, so I loved it. It was right up my alley, and I just wanted to gain specific knowledge in the Dutch tradition just because I really like their paintings. Whenever I see them in museums, I'm always floored by the technique and the way they handle their subject matter. And like I said, just to brush up, like a little refresher course on life drawing and just the fundamentals of observation and how to see. So yeah, I loved it. It was great.
So stylistically, is the Dutch painting style as precise as your normal painting style, or is it a little looser? How does it differ in the way you normally paint?
The Dutch are known to be very precise in their realism in their still lifes, and so it was perfectly suited to how I already paint, which is a very precise kind of technical, clinical approach. So, I kind of took to the painting aspect very, very easily. And like I said, it was all about honing my drawing and my observational skills and making sure I'm creating form accurately and matching color accurately.
Do you find that you teach seminars and you take courses? Do you find that continuing education aspect? Do you find that to be important as an artist who's trying to advance?
Yeah, that's really what fuels me. Just sort of resting on your laurels or just being content with the daily grind of the same old thing day after day feels really soul draining to me personally. I'm not a person who can be content for too long and just stay in one place. And so the continuing education for me as a tattooer just drives me to keep wanting to make more tattoos and to try new things and have new experiences and stuff. So it's very helpful. And like in the case of that painting course, when you sort of brush up on old topics that you haven't, practiced very rigorously in a while, that kind of knocks the dust off of different parts of your brain and makes you a stronger artist. And so when you bring that back into your tattooing, you have an easier time. You can accomplish what's in your head much easier. And, of course, your clients will love that.
So do you think you're going to be able to apply that Dutch style to like the fleshy kind of painting that you do now? Is it directly applicable to this?
Sure.
A lot of your stuff is organic. It's still lifes, but very fleshy and shiny and.
Yeah. I mean, the techniques directly crossover, but obviously the subject matter is different. And I actually took another workshop this summer before that one. It was a plein air landscape painting workshop up in New Hampshire in the White Mountains through the Hudson Valley, the Hudson River Fellowship, which is a group of traditional landscape painters. And those skills, then everything I worked on there actually, even more so than the still life workshop, is going to help me moving forward, because that's a whole new area, a whole new genre, a whole new subject matter, and a whole new process and technique of painting that I've never delved into. Because when I was in college, I learned in the still life tradition, which is indoors in a controlled studio environment, in small spaces with short depth of field. And of course, when you're out in nature looking at this grand vista that stretches miles and miles as far as your eye can see, and you're dealing with changing weather conditions, changing lighting conditions, wind, rain sometimes, everything's constantly shifting on you, and you learn a lot about the optical laws of physics and reality, like what your eye is doing when it's perceiving a color in the environment.
Like when you're looking through space and air and
yes.
atmosphere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So a lot of that information, a lot of those techniques are going to directly influence my work moving forward. And in fact, they already have. Oh, shortly after that workshop, I was working on a tattoo of a dusk graveyard scene, and so that's an outdoor scene depicting the illusion of distance and space through the outdoors. And I was already thinking about different colors to use in the leaves that are in the foreground of that tattoo, and how to push and pull the atmospheric perspective within that tattoo based on the knowledge that I had just learned from that painting workshop about how greens appear differently to your eye when they're closer to you as opposed to when they're further away. So there's some direct translation there straight from the workshop to my tattooing. That's all that I feel has already made me, a better, if not just wiser and more aware tattooer, more intentional and more wise in my color decisions and the illusions that I'm trying to create on skin.
What medium are you using for your plein air course that you took?
It's oil.
It was oil?
Yeah.
Have you ever done any watercolor?
I have only tried it a few times in my entire life, and I really don't care for it at all.
Well, that was kind of why I was asking, because of the way you paint takes time, and you don't have a lot of time with watercolor. You don't. Yeah, that's why I was asking. I was trying to imagine you painting in watercolor style and how that might be.
Yeah.
Going.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. The more artistic mediums an artist tries, you'll see what sort of fits you and what clashes with the way your brain processes information. So my brain just happens to process information in a way that's very compatible with the oil medium, and then I try to use my natural instincts with watercolor, and it just doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense. And so I think there's probably an artistic medium for everyone, and oil painting happens to be mine.
So you teach seminars too. What motivates you to teach?
I feel a sense of obligation and a sincere desire to give back to the tattoo world that's given so much to me. Probably every single good thing in my life today is either directly or through a few degrees of separation derived from tattooing, from the tattoo world, from other people in the tattoo world who have been generous to me. So I just want to be generous back first and foremost. I feel like I've done enough learning and have enough experience at this point in my career where I do have something to share and give back that could be valuable for some people. And I don't know, it's just fun. It's fun and very gratifying to share knowledge with people and have it be appreciated. So, there's sort of an ego aspect in it, in that sense. And having to teach something also makes you learn it even deeper, because obviously you can't teach something you don't understand yet yourself. So when I want to teach something, I have to understand it deeply enough to convey it in my own words to other people. And so that actually helps me grow and helps me learn. Just by teaching my own material, I learn from it. So it's good for all those reasons.
Can we talk a little bit about your experiences with the Worldwide Tattoo Conference? You've gone to a couple already, right?
Yeah, I've been to about half of them, I guess.
Okay. So did you go to Rome? Did you go to the Rome one? No? So
was it?
No.
Wait, Rome. Okay, Rome was the very first one, but there was just another Italian one, and I was not there.
Yes, that was Venice.
Yeah.
Yes. Gabe just called you a liar from the back area. He's not a liar. So what are some of your experiences with the Worldwide Tattoo Conference? Can you tell me a little bit about what it was like for you?
Well, firstly, it's terrifying. It's incredibly, it's incredibly scary to get up in front of so many people and reveal the inner workings of your mind. And I'm not the best public speaker, so it's absolutely terrifying.
Stop, Gabe. That's enough. Did you find like having the networking with other successful tattooers and some of the students, like getting to meet those kind of people? Was that a valuable thing for you?
Yeah. Besides the abject terror, there's always the great experience of networking with great artists like Jeff Gogwe is always a pleasure to see in person, and Nico Hurtado I've caught up with at the Boston one, and Boris and Alex from Italy. So obviously it's great to network and share information and kind of get inspired and re-energized by all these talented artists that are there. And of course, a lot of the audience members it's really great to talk to them briefly, and they might give me some interesting feedback on what they heard me present in my seminar that helps me think about it in a different way. So it's really cool to see.
We were just talking about interactions with some of the folks at the Worldwide Tattoo Conference and things like that. Can you tell us what you're going to be, what kind of subject matter you're going to be covering at the one in Portland?
Well, it's going to be the same seminar I've given at all of them. Of course, each time I make some tweaks and improvements and change it up a little bit, so it's a little bit unique every time. But it just focuses on a holistic approach to tattooing instead of zeroing in on specific techniques to teach people how to tattoo the way I tattoo. I approach it from a foundational standpoint of how a tattooer can be oriented in their approach to life and their approach to the craft of tattooing in order to do their own learning. So sort of like meta learning in a way. And it's this sort of universal approach to the knowledge, this sort of foundational approach, rather than teaching a bunch of specifics like you should always outline in this manner or you should always shade a tattoo in this manner. I don't get into any of that. But what I get into is your mental approach and how to filter the inspiration and the motivation from your life, and how to create an eye-catching and unique work of art that's truly yours, and not just a copy of whoever's seminar you saw. So
Right.
That's sort of my approach to it.
You want to answer some questions from the chat room?
Sure.
I'll just kind of take them as they come. Someone would like to know, how has living in Texas influenced your work, or has it?
People see a lot of sunlight down here, of course. So as far as my tattooing, I have to be conscious of how much sun exposure my clients, if they're from this area, how much time they spend outdoors, and I have to sometimes make adjustments for that. There's not quite as much pasty white skin down here as there is in the Northeast, but overall it hasn't influenced my tattooing very much. It's just that one consideration.
Uh-huh. Is it important that the viewer has to really grapple with what they're seeing? How does this apply to both tattooing and fine art in general?
I think the way I interpret that question is he's talking about wanting to challenge the viewer. And I think as an artist, when you make very obvious choices, very simplistic, obvious choices, it's not a very challenging experience for the viewer. But when you pay attention to the subtleties of compositional flow, or you really get deep into your study of color theory and you make maybe some not so obvious color choices for a very obvious piece of subject matter, that can be a very challenging and thus much more rewarding experience for the viewer of that piece of artwork.
So, all right. You do a lot of really fine detail work in your painting, and your tattoos have a lot of complicated composition. How do you stay patient and keep focus on a piece?
Well, making art is a meditation for me, and I think you just have to enter into a meditative space, and you have to really cultivate the mental skill of being able to hone in on a task, on a point of interest, and tune out the rest of reality and just focus in. And time loses its bearings at that point, and so you could be at something for hours, but it feels like minutes.
So how did you get to a point in your career to be able to take on work like that was meditative? Because in the beginning, I'm sure you were tattooing whatever, you were tattooing what came into you.
Yeah.
How did you begin to attract clientele? How did you put yourself out there with the style that you wanted to tattoo?
I offered up free tattoos to all my fun-loving punk rock friends who just wanted to get covered in tattoos and didn't care what it was as long as it was free. So I kept thinking of all these ideas, like something that I thought would be cool to see on skin that I haven't seen done before. So I kind of, for example, one prominent thing that I was known for a bunch of years ago was doing pixelated tattoos, and I was just sitting outside one day, just thinking of just letting my mind wander, is sort of in a non-linear creative thinking kind of way, and I was just like, what if I broke up this tattoo like into computer pixels? And so I got out a piece of graph paper, similar to the way Mike Cole, who's a great tattooer, does his geometric designs. I just got a piece of graph paper and plotted out where the pixels might break up the colors of this leaf that I wanted to tattoo, and I did it for free on my girlfriend at the time, who thought it was a cool idea, and that kind of ended up being a hit, and a bunch of other people started wanting pixelated tattoos, and then I stopped doing them because I didn't want to only do that. And since then, I've seen some amazing pixelated tattoos by a bunch of other artists who've really taken it even further than what I had originally envisioned. But basically the point of that story is, I kind of let my mind run wild in a very free-form, creative way, and then I found willing test subjects, and I wasn't concerned about money. I was fortunately in the position of not, having any kids or any mouths to feed, or so to speak. So I could afford to do free tattoos sometimes. So that's how I personally did it.
I remember that pixelated leaf tattoo very well. That's when I first started to look at your work. I remember seeing that tattoo. People ever ask you for that anymore? Like, do people come across old photos and be like, "Hey, man, do you remember that?"
Yeah, occasionally I'll get asked for it. I've done it a few times in the past several years, but just haven't made it like my one calling card. I just didn't want to be pigeonholed into doing one thing my whole career, and just because I feel like my artistic vision is bigger than that. So,
have you seen Jesse Rick's tattoos lately? You know Jesse Rick's?
Oh, the name's familiar.
Yeah, he's up in Keene, New Hampshire, and he's been doing like tattoos where the flesh breaks up into blocks and kind of pushes and pulls around the tattoo. Those have been pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I have not seen those, but I'm sure I've seen his work before.
Let's see, what else? Oh, do you have a favorite tattoo that you've done? Now that we're talking about your style.
No, not really. I mean, it's usually the tattoo I did that day, and then the next day I already don't like it. So I don't know. I'm pretty brutal with myself as far as being a perfectionist, and always self-critiquing my own work and trying to look for ways I could improve or different things I could try. And so I don't really have a favorite tattoo, but
I think that being brutal to yourself is pretty common with artists.
Yeah, it seems to be.
Thankfully, the public loves your work.
Well, thanks, public.
So what have you been working on lately, stylistically?
In tattooing, just same stuff I always do, I guess. I don't. It's so hard for me to describe my own style because it just comes naturally out of me. It's a product of how I think and how I've trained, and so it's not really. It's intentional, but it's not intentional in the way that I need to do something that I call my style. I just do what I do, and in hindsight, it ends up being my style. So I'm just working on the same old stuff I always do. Some sleeves, some full legs, back piece. Some of it's biomechanical subject matter, some of it's illustrative. So just the same old man.
So this is another question from the chat room. What are your? Do you have any short-term goals artistically, or long-term goals artistically, or in life in general? Is what they also wrote. That's a big question.
Yeah, there's too many life goals maybe to talk about right now. But as far as artistically, I want to keep using what I've learned this summer with these workshops, and I want to do a lot more landscape painting. I'm really interested in creating an epic sense of atmosphere and depth in my work, similar to the Hudson River School of Artists, because I've always focused in my work on smaller spaces, on very macro photography oriented type spaces where it's very up close, very zoomed in, not much depth of field. It's sort of like a trompe-l'oeil or fool the eye illusion of depth, but I really want to master the subtle skill of creating huge atmospheric perspective in wide open spaces that you can really only train for that by doing landscape painting and doing plein air painting outdoors. So that's a major goal right now because I'm really having fun with that.
Do you think you'll start doing some larger paintings?
I've done some larger paintings, and of course it was weird subject matter, so they haven't sold because I don't blame people for not wanting a 4-foot painting of a surgery scene in their living room. But so I end up having these things just hanging around my studio, so I was like, oh man, I'm going to work smaller for a while.
Right.
But
well, I mean, landscapes might lead to a larger painting. You can get a lot more in a larger painting with a landscape.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was about to say, is that the landscape thing, if I keep going with it and I like where I'm going with it, I definitely want to try some large-scale landscapes because they look gorgeous.
So how are you feeling about the tattoo world in general now compared to when you first got into tattooing? What kinds of changes have you seen? Are they good? Are they bad? Are they neutral?
It's a different universe. It's like not even the same planet, let alone universe. I mean, the changes are so drastic in every way, except for the actual physical act of tattooing. You're still poking holes in the skin. You're still taking your machine and kind of moving it around, and your needle goes into the skin. That'll never change, but literally everything else has changed, just socially, artistically. It's been broken wide open, and you're seeing tons of crossover between tattooing and fine art, and really the line is totally blurred at this point. And then you got the whole TV thing, the whole celebrity status thing, and social media thing, and that whole crazy aspect of it. And then there's the internet, and everyone is so linked together now that you'll see some amazing tattoos from the furthest reaches of Russia, and I'm in the US, and it was just so isolated when I started, even though, I'm not like an old timer by any means. I started tattooing in 2000, but even back then, and even still having the internet in 2000, there weren't a million like forums and chat rooms and websites.
Right.
Actually Gabe and TattooNow was kind of leading the way at that point and really pushing artists, tattooers, to get on the internet in the first place and have websites. So it's just The whole thing is just exploded wide open and in every conceivable way.
What are your thoughts on how fast art is consumed on the internet, like via social media and scrolling? Like it's seen and then discarded, and seen and discarded. How do you feel about that aspect?
I have, like maybe most artists, I have mixed feelings towards it. Of course, it's great that it's easier than ever to have your work seen by other people, which is the whole point of making art. So we want it, we want to put what we do in front of people's eyeballs, and that's great. And of course, the negative side of it is that everything's instantly disposable and forgettable, and it's like too much information. It's complete overstimulation and you become immune to things that at one time would have inspired you and sent shockwaves through your whole being, and now it's just another quick picture that you scroll through. So we're quickly becoming more and more immune to all this overstimulation, and so that's kind of the downside of it. It's more of like a philosophical quandary at that point. But
people have like lost the ability to be amazed by artwork anymore.
Yeah, that's what it seems. I mean, or you're amazed for 3 seconds, and it doesn't,
and then it's gone.
Change. Yeah, and it doesn't deeply filter down like through your being and sort of affect you on a deeper psychological level where it changes your whole approach to life.
I recently went to the John Singer Sargent exhibit in New York.
Yeah.
I met, and to be able to be in front of massive pieces of work, taller than me, and just to be able to sit in front of them and quiet was such a nice change from looking at my 3-inch wide phone and scrolling through. And I kind of forgot how amazing it was to see that in person like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty jealous. I was trying to make it there during my New York City workshop, and I never made it. So it's gone now.
It was truly amazing. It was wonderful. One of the guys we were with was brought to tears by how amazing it was. It was a great exhibit.
Yeah, that's the potential and the power of art, and that doesn't happen when you're scrolling on your phone.
No,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, I think it's very important to have museum experiences like that and connect with art in a different way, in a non-digital way.
Do you ever get time to go to any museums? I know you said you missed the Singer Sargent exhibit,
Yeah.
but do you find time or make time to go?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, whenever I'm in a new city that I've never been to before, I always try to look up their art museum and make a trip, because there's going to be some famous piece that I've never seen in person before. Just happens to reside in that city. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we have a good art museum here in Austin, Texas.
I've been to Austin like a dozen times, and I don't think I've ever been to a museum. What's the museum down there?
There's the Blanton Museum of Art. It's connected to the University of Texas campus. They have a great collection from antiquity on up to contemporary art. They have a great sculpture hall, and they always have a current exhibit. And last year they had an amazing exhibit called Lifelike, and it was about hyperrealism and the whole genre of photorealism and hyperrealism. And that's of course completely my preferred genre of painting. So
right. That's great.
Yeah, it was amazing.
What would you say your favorite museum is that you've ever been to?
Favorite museum? Wow.
Do you have one?
Ooh, it's probably the Musée d'Orsay in Paris. Although I've been to so many museums, it's hard to instantly conjure them all up. But I wish I was more impressed by the Louvre, but it was just so crowded. It was like being in a rock concert. It was like a mosh pit in there.
That sounds awful.
It was. You just talked about how your friend was moved to tears, and you were in the stillness of these, like, seeing paintings in person. And
yeah,
my experience of being in the Louvre in Paris was just fighting my way through a mosh pit of like flash bulbs and cell phones.
I think the key to having a great museum experience is to get up as early as you possibly can and get in there first. When I was in Florence,
Florence is another highlight.
I went to see the David and we were the first people there. So it was completely empty. There was only 4 of us in there, and it was utterly silent. And that was the best way to see that, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I forgot about that. I've been to so many museums, I totally forgot about the Uffizi in Florence, or however you say it. But yeah, seeing those Caravaggios in person was pretty mind bending.
Yeah, the scale alone is impressive. Have you been to Venice?
Yes, I was there with Gabe and Alex Tapasse on our way down to Rome for the very first
Oh, right on.
worldwide that I was lying about before.
Are you coming back to the tattoo gathering in
Yeah.
Venice? The Venetian?
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. We should go see some artwork.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Hey, have you ever been to the Norman Rockwell Museum up here in the Berkshires?
I have, as a child though, and I would love to make it back as an adult because obviously I'll have a whole deeper level of appreciation for it. But my parents, I was born and raised in Connecticut, so and my parents were big Norman Rockwell fans, and they took us to the museum as kids. And so my whole life I've been a Norman Rockwell fan.
Yeah.
Love his work.
I've been dying to get back there. So if you ever come up, we could take a ride out there.
Yeah,
It would be great. Take a field trip out there.
yeah, totally.
So someone in the chat room would like to know, do you have a favorite living artist?
Man, that's another hard question. Partly because of what we were just talking about, as far as being overstimulated. I'm constantly looking at art. I see so much art now. It's like my brain is flooded. So, man, it is really, really hard to think of just one favorite artist. But obviously, I'm into anyone who's painting hyperrealism at the moment. Yeah, geez. There's this really cool Instagram account called Paint Guide.
I know, I follow that one.
Yeah, Paint Guide, and they feature brilliant artists who share their favorite work. And so I see so much mind-blowing stuff on there. It's like hard to like catalog it all.
That one Instagram account sends me down internet rabbit holes all the time.
Yes.
It'll show me artwork that I've never seen, and then I go chase it down, and then I look for more and more and more. And that can happen on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's pretty dangerous.
It can be overwhelming for sure. Do you think, like, when presenting art, do you think it needs a description, or do you feel it's better to let it stand on its own and let the viewer interpret what the message is?
I think that depends entirely on the piece of artwork in question. Some artwork is more powerful when it's left to be a personal experience for the viewer, and some artwork is based on so much concept and philosophy and theory that the viewer's experience of it will be greatly helped out if they just are thrown a few clues by the artist, maybe a few little key points about what the art means. So, it kind of depends.
So this question here says, your work often alludes to an evolution in consciousness and statements of social commentary. First of all, is that true? Is that an intentional goal, or is that just the way it turns out?
It's very intentional. It's both an instinct and it's intentional. So I feel like that's one of the most important roles of artwork in society, in human culture. And I've always felt that even from when I was practically a child, and I didn't have the vocabulary necessarily to describe that. But I've always wanted my artwork to be provocative in a way, whether in a positive way or even in a negative way, to just provoke people out of their comfort zones and get them to think deeply about their life, about existence, about what's going on in the world. So obviously that commenter is in tune with what I'm doing, and so that feels good.
Yeah, you've got a definite punk rock thread running through everything you do, kind of.
Yeah.
Were you a punk rock kid?
Oh, absolutely. I was completely rebellious against all the social norms of the kind of wealthy suburbs that I was raised in. I felt very stifled by it as a child, and so punk rock was sort of a natural calling. It didn't even have to think twice about that one. So yeah, I've kind of grown up with a sort of a countercultural mindset, a little more of a provocative mindset towards social norms.
Does that ever separate you from like the regular tattoo community? Because at conventions you see a lot of guys that are out there strutting around with ego and motivation for money, or scantily clad women. Does that divide you? In the tattoo community, does it separate you socially?
It probably does. I mean, I feel alienated at conventions, but I feel alienated every second of my life, and that's like sort of an internal issue for me that I'm still working out. So I wouldn't blame it on tattooing or blame it on people who are different than me within tattooing, but sure, I definitely see a lot of personal lifestyle or belief differences between me and many other people, and there's nothing wrong with that. One of my favorite things about the tattoo world is how diverse it is and how welcome it is to all walks of life, all lifestyles, all personal styles, all styles of artwork. There's other communities that are much more rigid and much more judgmental than the tattoo world. So I really enjoy that about tattooing, and hopefully at some point I can feel more comfortable in the tattoo world and not feel so alienated. But again, I think a lot of that just has to do with me and the stuff I'm working through in my life.
I would definitely agree with the welcoming nature of tattooing. I've met so many different types of people that have been welcoming, but then I've talked to the local art council in my town, and it's a bunch of women who paint landscapes of sheep, and they want nothing to do with anything that isn't landscapes of barns and sheep, and
Yeah.
they're very exclusive, and tattooing hasn't been that way at all. You would think that a small town art council would be way more inclusive, but it's not the case. Especially when they see somebody with tattoos all over them,
Yeah, right.
Do you think you'd ever consider teaching a different format than a group seminar? Would you ever do a one-on-one or small groups?
I much prefer small groups. I feel like my personality, the way I like to interact with other humans, is more tailored towards a more intimate setting than large groups. I tend to want to just become a wallflower, the larger the crowd gets. So, yeah, smaller workshops would be fun. I have some ideas kicking around in my head for painting workshops that I actually want to maybe try to do at the next Paradise Artist Retreat. But as far as tattooing, I don't know if I ever want to have like an apprentice per se, like just have one person studying under me. That's for whatever reason has never appealed to me to have an apprentice at all. So for now, I just do my holistic tattooing seminar to larger crowds, but
I really appreciated your painting seminar when you kind of just brought everyone in around your easel, and everyone was kind of on top of what you were doing. I thought that was a really great format. It was really difficult to videotape, but it was a great everyone being able to come in and see exactly what you're doing nice and close instead of being at a distance. That was a nice. I like that. I like that format.
Yeah, me too. That's kind of what I want to do more with like my painting seminar. And it might actually, I have done a tattooing seminar in that way, but it was in South America. And there's different limitations there, obviously, because of the language barrier. And so I had everyone gathering around me, so they could see more so than having to listen to me through a translator, which is difficult. So they got a more intimate sort of hands-on view, so to speak, of me just doing a tattoo. So
let's talk a little bit about tattooing a little more. We've been talking a lot about art. Do you think the world of tattooing, do you think it's going to keep expanding, or do you think we're going to see a shrinkage and have it come back down to a smaller level? My
theory behind that I've had for the past few years, as I observe the changes happening, is that it's just going to splinter. And you're going to have different cliques or different subsets of tattooing that have little to no interaction with each other. So in a way, to answer your question, I think both is going to happen. Like overall, it's going to keep growing and growing and getting crazier, but on a smaller group level, like you're going to see groups start to splinter within that growth of like, you're going to have like your biomech guys and your kind of more underground artists who don't care about like the flashy TV shows. And then you're going to have like, you know, the more like fame seeking crowd. And like these people are going to start to know each other less and less and less as we just get so many new tattooers and so many new tattoo fans involved.
I mean, we're kind of starting to see that kind of thing now. The black work guys, the guys that are doing really primitive black work stuff, they're definitely pulling away from the large tattoo community and kind of forming their own subset, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy to see like all these different genres like splintering off, and and then it becomes its own little world. And like you sort of, you know, it's kind of like visiting a different country. You have to like learn the customs and the language of that genre of tattooing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I said, I'm starting to see that now. On a more technical side, machines-wise, what are you using these days? Are you using a coil machine? Are you using a rotary? And why? What choice? Why are you making the choices?
Well, I have tried a bunch of tattoo machines.
Tattoo artists are power creators, not power administrators. Save time, money, and trees with Tattoo Release Forms app. Your client will photo his ID, enter personal information, information about the tattoo, health information, initial legal clauses, and sign his name. When the client is finished, you can make session notes and choose inks and needles from the most popular brands and configurations. Preview the form, sign it, and hit upload. The form lands on a secure cloud in seconds as a printable PDF. If you're at a convention or without Wi-Fi, TRF will automatically upload the forms next time you're online. Return clients can simply search for themselves, check to make sure all the information is correct, and sign again. Done in seconds. Download Tattoo Release Forms app from the Apple App Store for free and enjoy 25 free forms. Also available in the UK, Canada, and Australia.
We're back, and we'll be right back with Nick in just a second after I update you guys on this. Make sure that you enter the Worldwide Tattoo Conference ticket giveaway contest that we're having right now at tattoonowtv.com/WWTC. Enter now, and we'll call you by the end of the show. And we're back with Nick Baxter. Hey, Nick.
Hi.
So we lost you just after I asked you machine choices, what you've been using these days and why.
For the past several years, I've been using primarily Fallen King irons or FK irons. Before that, early in my career, I was using Pulse tattoo machines, made in Connecticut, which is where I started tattooing. And so I've just been mixing it up between all the various types of machines that Fallen King offers nowadays. I've had a lot of success with them. They work great for me, so why fix what isn't broken, you know?
Sure. What do you enjoy about using a rotary tattoo machine versus a coil machine?
Well, like everyone says, it's easier on the wrist. You know, there's less weight hanging off the back of your hand. It's a little less fatiguing for the hand and the wrist. And for the joints in your fingers, there's less vibration. So it's more compact, it's more lightweight. You know, the cartridge system of needles is pretty convenient. I think it needs some improvements overall, but you know, that's easier than setting up 3 different tattoo machines with separate needles. You can just set up one machine and have 3 different needles. So I like that aspect of it. You know, it produces a nice, smooth, consistent result because it's on a rotor. There's none of that like slightly erratic slapping motion of a magnetized spring.
Right.
It's more like a sewing machine, straight up, straight down in the same way every time. So you can get real smooth, consistent results that way. But if you're looking for kind of chunkier, textured kind of way of working, or you know, like a little more organic result, I find a coil machine and the sort of unpredictable slapping motion of the needle bar going up and down.
To get more of a random chattery kind of pattern.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to get kind of small textural effects that way with a coil machine than with a rotary. But obviously you can do great tattoos with either one. So
right,
it's all it's all in the mind of the user.
It's really, they're just tools, I guess, right? It's how you use your tool.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to pick up one or the other without actually learning how to use it. It's not going to be easier.
Yeah.
What about ink preference? The chat room wanted to know. Do you have a specific ink that you'd like to use, and why?
Lately, I've been using mostly Old Gold small batch. It's made by Phil Holt in Florida, and I just like the ethic behind his company. I feel like it's just a trustworthy product made by an actual tattooer, not in mass quantities.
Is it hard to deal with like the large commercial aspect of a lot of the tattooing, like machines and supplies, and conflicting with your personal values?
I don't know. It's weird to be a tattooer because the final result really is all you can be, or I shouldn't say that that's all you can be concerned about. That is the most important thing to be concerned about, is the finished result of your tattoos. And you will do, I mean, if you care about your reputation and, and the growth of your career, you're going to do anything in your power to make the best possible end result. And if it means supporting one company because because they put out this one thing that is the best thing for you, then, you'll find yourself doing that 9 times out of 10. So it's weird, like ethics, like of course it's always important to support, what you feel is ethically in line with your own beliefs. But on the other hand, I've found that ethics take a sort of slightly back seat to just the final quality of your finished work, because ultimately that's what your client has to live with for the rest of their life usually. So you don't want to compromise that.
Right. What's your tattooing environment like? Do you listen to music? Is it set up a certain way? Do you have to where you tattoo? Is it what's the environment like where you're tattooing?
Right now I share a studio with 3 other artists in Austin, Texas, and it's kind of like a private studio setup where it's like a big loft space, kind of like an industrial loft. High ceilings, concrete floors, and we kind of just have our stations in a big open room facing each other. There's usually some music playing and conversation of whoever's working with their clients. I just keep my setup as simple and minimal as I can. I'm not interested in lots of complicated bells and whistles that you're just introducing more things that can go wrong. It's more stuff you have to order, it's more stuff you can run out of. So I really keep things pretty basic and simple, and as far as the products I use and the way I set up, and I try to keep it as ergonomic and healthy for my body as possible. I keep a good working height while I'm tattooing, so I don't have to hunch my back too much, and I sit on a surgeon's chair that's from an old operating room.
How's that different than a regular chair?
I sort of had you sit in it and then you swivel the back around to the front of you, and it sort of rests up against your chest and diaphragm in a way that prevents you from slumping or slouching. So you have to have correct curvature in your lower back and in your spine.
Do they make have you seen any modern products that are comparable to that?
Yeah. You can go on, like an office supply website and find a chair where the back actually becomes the front. It just swivels around to the front of you, and you sort of can lean your elbows on it. I forget what they're called, but they have a name, and it's a thing, and you can buy it.
What about lighting in your studio? Do you have any special lights? Do you find that lighting changes the way a tattoo looks or when you're working?
I've always been a stickler for perfect lighting, and so as much natural daylight as possible. So huge bay windows that are north facing are far and away the best light to work from for any type of art, tattooing, painting, anything. Huge north-facing windows. So natural daylight whenever possible, and then daylight bulbs when night comes, or when there's shadows being cast on your work. So yeah, just to replicate sunlight as closely as possible. You don't want to use too much tungsten lighting, because it's gonna make everything look warm and yellow, and then your color mixtures are gonna, your eye-brain combination is gonna instinctively compensate for that yellow light, which is really only a problem if you're doing pretty precise work and precise color matching. But in general, just as a good habit to get into, you want neutral, balanced light that isn't too cool and fluorescent and isn't too warm and tungsten, because your eyes are going to distort naturally.
And then when someone goes out to the daylight, the tattoo is going to look completely different than you may have intended, or slightly different. I guess it won't be completely different. But.
Yeah, slightly. It's less of a concern in tattooing than it is with realism painting, for example. But it still can make a difference. And so if you have the option to not have to deal with that, then why would you?
Right. What do you use for client furniture? Do you take any special precautions or care in what they're sitting in, or?
I just have a big old barber's chair and then a massage table, and I make do with either of those. Those seem to do the trick for just about any body area.
How long of sessions do you usually tattoo at a time?
4 to 6 hours, I think, is my norm. I just do one tattoo a day, and it's almost always 4 to 6 hours on a larger piece, on someone who's traveling to me. So they need to get their money's worth, their travel's worth. So it's typically longer sessions, and I do a lot of back-to-back 2-day sessions. For example, on an arm, I'll do the top half of the arm day 1 and the bottom half of the arm day 2.
Do you try to avoid working into the days before's work so that your client can heal and not feel so much pain?
Yeah. Exactly.
No, do a lot of your clients, would you say most of your clientele travel to you from outside of Texas?
Yes, most of them do. Still.
Do you keep a wait list? How do you handle incoming clientele?
Oh man, I mean, that's a constant struggle, as many tattooers know, and probably many tattoo clients know, trying to get in with tattooers. But I have an informal wait list, kind of like people I have in mind who I really was into their project proposal. And if I can't get to it at the time, I'll kind of save their email and keep them in mind. But I have absolutely no formal structure to it. I'm completely unreliable, unfortunately. I understand it's like not cool, but it's just there's only so much time and energy that I have. So it's just after a while it just gets that way. You just can't keep track of all the requests and get back to people as easily as you want to or as quickly as you want to. So I don't have an assistant or a secretary or anything. It's just me doing everything. So I keep my workload manageable, and so unfortunately a lot of people miss out on getting appointments.
Do you ever get angry emails?
I've gotten a few, and it definitely it definitely hurts a little bit, and it mostly hurts just because I feel bad for the person. Like, I feel bad that that's the way life is, that I just can't get to everyone. So
right.
I want to make people happy. That feels good for me to make people happy, so I get sad about that.
Do you ever feel like the workload gets in the way of other stuff, or do you make sure you leave time for yourself outside of tattooing?
Well, part of the reason I have this problem that I just talked about in the first place is because I don't tattoo that much. So because I am so inspired to paint, and I really love painting, and I love so many other things in life besides tattooing, I just can't do it all day, every day. So I only tattoo about 2-3 days a week on average. And then sometimes if I'm taking painting workshops, or if I'm just in some other rabbit hole, I'll take a few weeks off of tattooing and just not tattoo for a few weeks, and then
right.
So I keep my workload, my tattoo workload, small enough that I'm still inspired to tattoo. It's about finding the sweet spot and where the two lines intersect.
Do you find that it's hard to keep your ego in check, or to stay humble or grounded when you get so much attention from your art and tattoos?
I mean, it feels good to have praise and recognition of your life's work and something that you feel passionately about, and that means a lot to you. That always feels good. So, I'm always appreciative of that, and I just try to take it in stride. And pretty much no one, just due to the flaws in my own personality, no one could be as brutal on me as I am on myself. So I'm constantly self-critiquing and wanting to improve. So I don't know. I mean, my opinion of myself is that the ego doesn't get in the way, but maybe someone else has a different opinion of me. I don't know.
You seem like a pretty humble guy to me. But I can understand where someone might ask that question, because you do get a lot of attention. You get lots. I mean, you get the emails, you see them all.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I probably don't get nearly as much attention as a lot of other tattooers, because I don't chase the sort of like fame aspects of it, as far as like trying to be on TV or trying to have a million Instagram followers. Like, I don't care about that stuff. So
Right. Do you plan on tattooing until you're old?
I would love to. Yeah, it's a fun outlet. It's a fun medium to work in, and it's only one of several mediums that I enjoy. So that being said, I'd like to always tattoo at some level, even if it's just by the time I'm old and, you know, arthritic everywhere. Maybe it's only like a few appointments a month on my old clients who are getting their old tattoos refreshed or something, you know. But sure, yeah, I'd like to always tattoo. It's not always going to be in a very public way, or, you know, and always constantly taking on new clients and new projects. But
do you think you'll keep striving to try different art techniques and still increase your knowledge and learn throughout your life? Do you think you'll keep taking courses and exploring new aspects of art?
Yeah, and if not new ones, then deeper aspects of existing ones, if that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that's just a fundamental aspect of my personality, is that I am drawn to do that. I am driven to do that. So I'm the type of person who can't be content in that way. And I believe that the artist's work is never finished. Art is kind of one of the unique pursuits in life where your learning and your work is just never done. You know, as soon as you've painted or tattooed something, you can do the next painting, the next tattoo, and you can do it better.
Well, hey, thank you very much for talking with us, man. I really appreciate it. And
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I look forward to seeing you in Portland.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fun. Want to go to downtown one night and go to the barcade and play some old pinball.
Arcade and Voodoo Donuts, man.
Yeah, totally. Maybe half a donut. You know, I'm getting old.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Nick. I really appreciate
too.
it, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Have a great night.
Thanks, you too.
We'll see you. Well, everyone, that was Nick Baxter. He is always wonderful to talk to, and we'll talk to him again. And we'll see him in Portland at the Worldwide Tattoo Conference. Speaking of the Worldwide Tattoo Conference, you've got about 3 minutes left to enter the contest at TattooNowTV.com/WWTC. We're going to run the Tattoo of the Day video, and just after that, I'm going to call one lucky entrant, and we're going to give away a ticket, either streaming or in person, your choice, to the Worldwide Tattoo Conference coming up in Portland. So get in there, get your information in there, and we'll be calling one of you right after this Tattoo of the Day compilation video.
Groove.
We're back. I hope you enjoyed the Tattoo of the Day contest. If you want to see your stuff up there, sign up for a TattooNow membership, upload high quality pictures, and you too could get voted for Tattoo of the Day and find yourself on that very compilation reel on this show here. We've got a winner, and I'm going to call them right now. Hopefully they answer.
Hello?
Hi, is Brent there?
Hello?
Hello, is Brent there?
Yes, it is.
Hey Brent, this is Ben from Off the Map Live.
Whoa, right on.
Hey, you just won yourself a ticket to the Worldwide Tattoo Conference in Portland.
Wow. Awesome, man.
So, have you seen the show before?
Yeah, I have actually. Watched different reruns of it anyway, so.
Oh, right on. Well,
The streamings, yeah.
thanks for watching.
Wow. This is awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I'm stoked.
So, do you think you're going to come out and see it in person, or do you want yourself a streaming ticket?
I'm gonna have to check my schedule and make sure and see what I can arrange here.
All right, man. No sweat. What's going to happen is I'll end up passing your information off, and someone will be in touch with you Monday or Tuesday, and we'll get it all sorted out.
Awesome, man. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, hey, thanks for watching the show and entering the contest. And be paying attention to your email or your phone, and you got yourself a $950 ticket.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Cool, man. And make sure you share the show with your friends. People actually do win.
I will. I appreciate it, man. Thanks.
All right, man. Have a good night.
You too.
So, there you see, people win. That was Brent Severson from Wisconsin, it looks like. He entered the form and he got called, and now he's got himself a ticket. And we'll be giving away another one on the next show. Our next show will be during Black Work Weekend. We're going to be live streaming the discussion panel. We've got all kinds of people, Black Work artists here. We've got Corey Ferguson, Hannah Mantra. We've got Jason Angst, Kenyon Webb, Joe King, and speaking of Black Work, we are having a auction for Zed Lahed benefit. Corey Ferguson and Hannah Mantra are auctioning off a collaboration tattoo. You can go to eBay and find that, get your bid in, and get yourself a seriously awesome tattoo for a wonderful cause, one of the Black Work pioneers. So thanks for watching. The next show will be Black Work Weekend in a couple weeks. I'm off to Hell City. I'm going to be doing live interviews, so if you find yourself in Phoenix, come say hi. I'll buy you a drink. We'll see you next time on Off the Map Live. Thanks for watching.
I don't remember. Are you talking to me?
Fast and loose and ride. We might see tomorrow.